What up, guys? It is Tuesday, May 26th. I hope everyone had a great long Memorial Day weekend and got out in the nice weather. But today we are back and we are going to start 9.4, which is pretty much the last section that we're going to be doing in the book. So what 9.4 is about is choosing an appropriate data display depending on the type of data that they give to you. All right, so we have all of these different data displays that we can use to display data, all right? But our learning target is that I can choose an appropriate data display for specific data, and then that you can create those data displays. A couple specific ones that you're gonna do on IXL tomorrow. All right, but let's worry about this for today, all right? And basically I'm just gonna read through everything with you from the book, okay? Now what I am gonna do is I'm gonna let you guys kind of read this, so you might wanna pause your video and kind of read through this for specific data displays. What kind of data would it show, or what does it do? Okay, what are these things? What do these data displays do? Okay, so you might want to read through those and look for a couple of keywords. All right, so why don't you pause your video at this time, read through that, and then when you come back, we're going to move on to example one. All right, so example one says that we're going to be choosing an appropriate data display. Okay, so they're going to give us a scenario. So it says choose an appropriate data display for the situation and explain your reasoning. All right. So guys, I just want you to know that there are multiple possibilities for answers here. All right. You're just choosing one appropriate data display for the situation and saying, why did you choose it? Now, what the book does for the number of students in a marching band each year. All right. So what I see is each year. And what I saw when I looked at that first chart that I just told you to read through is that a line graph shows change over time. So anytime you see that they're asking you about something that might be changing over time, a line graph is a perfect data display for that scenario. All right, so it says a line graph shows change over time. So a line graph is an appropriate data display, okay? Now, a comparison of people's shoe sizes and their heights. Comparison of people's shoe sizes and their heights. It says here, you want to compare two different data sets. These two things may not have much to do with each other, okay? Shoe sizes, heights might not have much to do with each other. So again, you're comparing two different data sets, so a scatter plot could be an appropriate data display there, all right? Now again, remember what I said, there's multiple answers here, okay? Here's a couple on your own questions we can look through together. Same directions, okay? But now they're talking about the population of the United States divided into age groups, okay? So divided into groups, and then the percent of students in your school who play basketball, football, soccer, or lacrosse. I'm looking at the word percents here, okay? Maybe think of a couple of appropriate data displays for this scenario, or these scenarios, and then we'll talk about these. So sample answer, again, see how it says sample answer, because there are multiple possibilities. But a histogram, what a histogram does is it breaks things into groups, right? A histogram breaks things into groups. So it says shows frequencies of ages, data values in intervals of the same size. So a histogram is possible here. Now, number two, it says percent. A sample answer is a bar graph because it shows data in specific categories. Now, another really good answer here, because it's percent, is a circle graph or a pie graph, okay? So that's another really good answer here. All right, next. Let's see what this says. All right, very small writing, but let's hope we can read this. Now, it's asking us, are these appropriate, okay? Or what's right, what's wrong about them. It says you record the number of hits for your school's new website for 5 months. Over time, remember what I said, over time. Tell whether the data display is appropriate for representing how the number of hits changed during the 5 months. Explain, okay? Here's the data. Now, does A work? Here's August, September, October, November. It's all split up into a bar graph, and here's the number of hits. Does that work? Sure. It says the bar graph shows the number of hits for each month, so it is appropriate, okay? Now down here, this histogram it stretches the number of hits on the bottom from 0 to 399, from 400 to 799, and so on. And then it's saying how many times did that happen. This isn't really a great representation. It says the histogram does not show the number of hits for each month, right? It doesn't show that. Or how the number of hits changes over time. So it's not an appropriate data display. Now down here, you should hopefully be thinking what I said before. Line graphs show change over time. Here's August, September, October, November, and there's a dot on each month showing how many hits. Does that work? Absolutely. The line graph shows how many or how the number of hits changes over time, so it is appropriate. Okay? So that's another thing, is just determining, does it make sense for the scenario or does it not make sense for the scenario? Okay? Now, we're talking about, let's see if there's anything we need to read. No, not really. So, example 3 again. Example 3 is, now it's asking us, is there anything misleading about any of these graphs? Okay, so that's what we want to look for. Is there anything misleading? So, here's what I see on this graph. See this little break in the graph? Why do we use that? We use that because it tells us that the data doesn't start until up here. So do we really need all those numbers? Not really. But here's what it says. The vertical axis of the line graph on the left has a break and begins at 8. This graph makes it appear that the total revenue increased rapidly from 2005 to 2009. The graph on the right has an unbroken axis. It is more honest and shows that the total revenue increased slowly. What they're saying, guys, this might be a little misleading because they showed that break in the graph. Now we're only really looking at 3 numbers, and it looks like this really increased rapidly. But technically, it went up pretty gradually, slowly, right? Finally, last thing. Same concept. Same concept. A volunteer concludes that the numbers of cans of food and boxes of food donated were about the same. Is this conclusion accurate, and explain? If we look here, this person is reading this graph saying that the cans of food and the boxes of food, the amount of them was about the same. Now cans, there's 20 cans, there's 20 boxes for each can and box on the graph. Is that conclusion accurate? No. The cans are much smaller than the boxes. Okay, so there's a ton more cans than there are boxes. Really? All right. So it says each icon represents the same number of items. Because the box icon is larger than the can, it looks like the number of boxes is about the same number is the same as the number of cans. But the number of boxes is actually about half of the number of cans. So it's just saying that this conclusion is not accurate. All right, so it's identifying if there's anything misleading and how do we analyze if it's misleading or not. Okay, let me show you one more of the same kind. All right, gives us these two. Explain why the data display is misleading. Well, if we look at this, these tickets are a lot smaller than these, which are a lot smaller than these. Okay, so that's why it's misleading. The tickets are much larger. Here, all the boxes are different sizes. Okay, so here the tickets vary in width, and the break in the vertical axis makes the difference in tickets appear to be greater. Here, the bars become wider as the years progress, making the increase in profit appear greater. All right, which that's not why it's greater. It's greater because the graph is going up higher. All right, so again, just kind of random questions about why are these graphs maybe misleading. Okay. That's pretty much it though. Right now you guys are going to go in here and just complete 9.4 practice. Remember, this is the last section that we're going to do. Okay. So upcoming, you kind of have a quiz at some point this week, and then we're going to start a project at the end of the week. All right, and that's going to be it for the year. So hopefully this all made sense to you guys. If you have any questions, ask in my email or in the discussion thread on Canvas, and I'll talk to you guys later.